Fair enough.
Sure. Can't reach this anyhow.
Ready? Good evening. This is the meeting of the Village Environmental Policy Board for the Village of New Paltz for Tuesday, September 12th, 2023. My name is Ted Nitz. I'm the chair of the Environmental Policy Board. I'll let the other members introduce themselves. Rachel?
I'm Rachel Galka, and I'm on the village planning board as well.
I'm Jessica McGovern, and I'm on the Environmental Policy Board.
There is an email address for us for community members if they're interested in submitting any comments, questions, or concerns to the Environmental Policy Board. It's environment@villageofnewpaltz.org. It's also available on the village website. We are interested in any comments, questions, concerns from the public, and at our meetings, we have an opportunity for the public to comment if they'd like to do so in person. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We have a quorum of 3 for this evening. There's no members of the public appear to be here for public comment, so we'll move on. But again, if you are interested in addressing the Environmental Policy Board in person, you're welcome to do so, and we'll have an opportunity on the agenda for you to comment publicly. We don't have any public hearings scheduled for this evening, so we'll move on to administrative actions. For those, the agenda is similar to what we've done in the past, and it's available for those that request it. Do we have minutes for? That's right. Okay, so there are minutes available from last meeting in August. At the time, I had looked at them and I thought they were in order. Do we want to entertain a motion for the minutes from last time?
Fine with that. I don't remember them either, but accept them.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. Okay, second. For approval of the minutes from last time, the August meeting. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. Motion passes. We don't have any claims. Any announcements? Interested this evening. The agenda for
God, and I glanced over it. I didn't have time to read the whole thing, but it's very interesting to me.
what was the field workshop? Okay, and then
Yeah, I believe that's the same one. It's pretty lengthy. They expressed interest in working with us. It was about water quality.
yeah,
Correct.
on September 26th, I think.
Yes.
Hearing
And I'm not 100% sure that I can attend that, but I very badly want to.
All right.
I just don't know. Yeah, I'm like in the city.
I think I thought also it was interesting and topical, and I'd worked to see if maybe a staff member could go, but they shortly thereafter rescheduled it to be determined. So
Oh, so it's not a thing anymore.
it'll be a thing, just at a different time and date. They ran into some conflicts. I got an email shortly thereafter, that one saying,
Check my email since.
yeah, if we're talking about the same one, but New Paltz, water quality, right?
Yeah, they were interested in the data that we had or what we're collecting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll keep an eye out for that one. For those that are interested. Any other announcements?
I don't know, is the edible gardens on the agenda?
Here, certainly we can put under old business.
Yes.
All right. Anything from the village? Sure. All right, the next item is discussion of the village planning board update or items from Rachel. Anything talk about from the recent village planning board meetings?
Going on now, it's really overwhelming. There's just so many projects, it's hard to keep up with them all. I guess the one that's kind of coming into the radar now that involves the most adjacent and largest amount of open space that'll be impacted would be the pit. You know what I'm talking about?
Certainly.
So the mayor sent an email with a file that was forwarded to him from the mayor who was mayor before that researched this whole thing, because the idea is that it's on the master plan that there are covenants protecting the open space of that parcel. And there was a whole discussion about this. So I haven't read this particular thing, but what I recall was that there was some in the plan, there was a stipulation that at least 15% of it should be left as open space. Because it's such a central location, and the village has always been sort of looking for, in terms of the planning, a sort of town square kind of like open like area, and it's just they've never actually like achieved that. You know what I mean? Like we don't have like a central square or whatever. We just do have this property, and then there's that one, and then just because that's kind of like the last serious amount of trees. It's on a very steep slope. A lot of water comes through there. So even though it doesn't look like, oh, wow, we got to save this, it's really important sort of in terms of its, lungs and kidneys for the village kind of thing. So we don't obviously have the authority even, to go against it. I don't know if there is one. If there is one, we're supposed to follow the law anyhow. So, and what the last word I got was that they had addressed the issue of the covenant. And when I asked, are they going to comply with it, I received an I don't know. So I don't know the answer to that, but that's pretty close. It's just, they want to build it all up, the hotel, restaurant, that kind of thing. And
Right.
the deal is, I guess, most people in the village, when you're at these planning board meetings, what you hear people clamoring for is affordable housing. And God only knows how that's gonna, we have like a law setting aside 10% if there's over 10 apartments or whatever, but that doesn't really address the issue. It's
Is the proposal to be housing? I thought it was to be like a
housing,
hotel.
but yeah, it's a hotel, the majority of the hotel, and they want to put a conference center. God only knows why, I don't know.
Yeah, a hotel doesn't answer our
SUNY. Conference space at SUNY. I don't know what they're thinking. We don't even go there. It's just a matter of, okay, what's this gonna do to the water? What's this gonna do to the environment? Is it legal? Are they allowed to do it? It's that kind of stuff.
And they passed the hotel up by the old Moxie Cupcake, right?
Not yet. That is still, there's a lot of public objection to that for numerous reasons, most of them having to do with the aesthetics and the function. People want affordable housing and they don't want this brick. It's supposed to be modeled on like the brick warehouses in Brooklyn that have been upscaled. So they have like this brick building, brick sort of shoebox, and then it has balconies, and they've got planters on the balcony, which I think is cool. There's a lot of neighbors are just like, no, we don't want this. It's ugly, and we need affordable housing, not hotels. I'm like, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't know.
The pit project, has the applicant submitted anything, or is it just things going on?
What's going on is that we're being updated on the legal status of it.
Yeah.
And I just found the last iteration that was given to me, and I don't even know how many years old it is, but 2 years old. Wow, that's it. It's only 2 years old. Wow. So in cleaning up my stuff, I found that in an envelope. So I could go, if you want to look at it, I can bring it to you. It's public, isn't it?
Just the DEIS.
Yeah, it's just like fancy pictures of a nice looking, whatever. It's fancy pictures of the conference center and the hotel. The problem that I've had with most of their depictions, and this one included, is they don't take into account the steep drop gradient. Like they actually made a plastic model of it that we went to look at a couple of years ago. And even though it's on a steep hill, they just kind of like, the model didn't account for that at all. It was just like the buildings were coming up and, you know.
What is their answer to the proposed water runoff? Or what are they
they'll
saying?
have to engineer it, I think, and I don't know exactly, you know, of course, they want to put everything underground. But at one point, there was a proposal that involved the fountain and like the open stream, and of course, that would be better. That's so much better for the environment and it's aesthetically more pleasing. Because they did that in Peace Park, you've seen that, right?
Yeah,
It's really it's cool. It's like the waterfall, the bridge. And before it was just a pipe going under the park.
So there's nothing that you're aware from the applicant to update their pit proposal over the last at least a year, I think.
Yes, there's no complaints about it. Didn't we get some kind of, nothing concrete yet?
The applicants went before the village board to address some of these questions about the covenants on the property and whether or not the design is zoning compliant, but that's really a planning board decision. So the village is trying to discuss with them how to make a proper assessment of the design, like hiring a planner, an outside planner who's not village related to examine the designs, but none of that has proceeded. That's where the last time in that conversation.
We should definitely be in that route. I would rather not just receive a bright shiny, hey, the village board thinks this is great, you know. I'd rather like actually be involved in that discussion, you know. Because people really do care about, that's right near a school. The last time they were before the board, it was like, everybody, the public came out, they're like, our playground is across the street and our school is right on the, you know, the edge of the property. And that was like the biggest concern. They're like, oh, you know, there's gonna be all this traffic all of a sudden. And so that's what I remember.
They have not submitted any new designs for planning board consideration as of yet.
And you mentioned the hotel next to the cupcake place,
Yes.
State Road 32 apartments. Is that advanced?
Oh, the portable apartments is on 32 south across from college.
Right.
I haven't heard anything. Have you? It's been a while.
They are applying for another round of funding. They're trying to get the support from the state to make it 100% affordable as they intended to do. So that's what they're trying to accomplish at the moment. So that's the developer.
All right. Anything else from the village planning board?
So at the moment, I mean, the default apartments is coming back. That's huge. I don't know when that's coming back, but
We're going to schedule them for September 19th, so the board can determine if the DEIS is ready to release to the public. So that's the next step, and then there will be a public comment period and a public hearing. But when that will be scheduled, I don't exactly know.
and Zero Place was talking about opening up another one, kind of the same side, right next door to it, weren't they? Did anyone hear about that next door to Rycor? Oh, I thought it was the same developer as Zero Place.
Oh, maybe it is. I don't know. Oh, maybe he's involved or it's a different, you know, they have all these LLCs.
Yeah.
and they-
I mean, don't quote me on it, but I thought that was the whole And
No,
Rycor was
that's-
gonna do like free electric and it was all gonna be like,
It is right next to the Rycor, and
they were going to the
it
board.
does
for that.
involve some of the Rycor people,
Mhm.
but other than that, I don't know any more than that.
Okay. Thank you for participating in the village board and giving us an update. The next item is the report from the town's environmental conservation board. I serve on that. The town had their had a planning board meeting last night that I attended for that, and there were a couple items on that agenda that are of interest. One was the wetlands permit from the Mid-Hudson Sporting Clays, which is an issue that's been a couple of years old on Ohioville Road, right? 2018, I think the file goes back. They had put a road down the middle of their sites through some verified wetlands, and it's been an issue to get them resolved ever since. They were in front of the planning board last night to give an update and to make a pitch for what they'd like to do. They are still on a parallel path with the Army Corps of Engineers because of the federally designated wetlands that they disturb as part of it. It's about 1 acre of wetlands and wetland buffer area that's involved with it. Their proposal, their ask was to allow it to just stay there, proposing that it might be too disruptive to remove the materials. That was responded to by the town's engineer and the town's wetland expert in disagreement. It will be the planning board asked for a site visit, and it's been scheduled for November 4th, which is a Saturday at 10 o'clock for the village board and the environmental conservation board members that are interested to take a look at. There is an added critical environmental area that's being proposed by the town. I was unaware of it last night. It's a smaller area. It will be discussed in October at the village or at the town environmental policy board or planning board meetings. And I don't know. I need to find out more about it also.
Done a lot of work on that, but not of it, not much of it has been spotted.
Well, the first area was designated as an environment or a critical environmental area, the first one. This will apparently be the second one, but I'm not sure of what it involves. But again, it'll be discussed by the planning board and the environmental conservation board at a planning board meeting scheduled for October. Environmental Conservation Board is scheduled for the 18th, their monthly meeting next month. They'll talk about Mid-Hudson Sporting Clays. Will be an Ulster County update. I'll give a village update, and they have the same announcement for field workshops for the 26th, which appears to be rescheduled for that. That's the news from the town's side. Any questions?
There's no news on that place by the thruway where they were gonna have a CVS.
The Trans Hudson?
Yeah,
No, there was nothing recent.
is it approved?
I think they have site approval.
They have a site approval?
I do believe they do. And they were working through arrangements for water and sewer and coming back with actual tenants, but nothing has been recent enough.
This is the Five Guys and CVS, right, proposal?
It's been
Yeah.
proposed, yeah.
Yeah.
And is that the Genesis Diner location?
It's on the other side.
Yeah. There's nothing actually there right now except woods, and it's just this really weird sliver of land. It's right by the thruway, but the area by the thruway is very skinny And then as you go down Putt Corners, it gets wider and wider. Isn't that the spot where they're planning it?
It is, but it gets more narrow as you head north.
Oh, well.
So the Trans Hudson property is Main Street and Putt Corners is actually the northeast corner.
For the
Which
Fryhouse
side?
versus?
There's nothing there right now. So, if you're,
Am I in the right location? Like where the Fryhouse is? kind
Well,
of?
it's across the street from the Fryhoffers on the other
Okay, so that
side
is
of
the
Putt
location I'm
Corners.
thinking.
yeah,
Yeah, it's on the other side of Putt Corners and right by Main Street. And I don't know why I remember the triangle going a different way. But you say it's much wider
by Main Street.
By Main Street, and then it gets skinnier. I guess
As
you're
it
maybe
goes.
right. I remember walking it and thinking, wow, this is getting narrower and narrower and narrower.
Yeah.
And then finally, it's just like rocks.
Right.
Seems like a tiny spot.
It is. There was a house there, and they tore it down. It was a big old house.
And they want to put a CVS there, like a shopping arena?
Small shopping area, 3 or 4 buildings.
Shop kind of shopping area, I guess. Shush.
Yeah.
Um,
But I haven't heard anything recently, and the proposed tenants keep changing as to who they're trying to lock down.
yeah. The issue with the bicycle.
Traffic in general
It's
there.
The traffic, whether it's safe or not, and people were arguing one way and the other about it. Whether it was gonna be safe for bicycles.
All right. Environmental Policy Board reports from officers, community members. If you remember from last time, I had talked about some art around storm drains kind of projects. I've not been able to answer the questions you guys had last time about the toxicity of the paint, yes or no, and some other issues. But I have had others in the community say that they like the idea, so we'll keep putting it together till we can get a sound proposal. But if it is something of interest, I'd like to maybe put it in position that we could do it next year in the late spring, summer, or something like that. So it gives us some time to plan around it. Any other reports or items that we're working on? You want to talk about the edible gardens? Yeah.
Now, so they were planted, what, 2 years ago or something like that? And it takes time for everything to grow. Right now, there is a huge, well, not huge, but there's probably a pint of very fresh, ripe raspberries right now that somebody should pick them. I picked some and brought them inside, but it was supposed to be like, the idea is that it's edible garden, so that you start with these, small amount of plants, and then you get more plants, and then, you've got all these berries, and it's also good for the pollinators. So there was some kind of, I don't know what it was, black currants or something. And now the raspberries right now, they are ripe. I used like a lawn sign thing to prop them up a little bit, because but I'm really I was hoping to find somebody that would want to like adopt say, hey, yeah, I'll, maybe make a Facebook
Where are
page or something. Right in the front of the building, and then there's also a
Right.
small one. Yeah, we'll walk by. You guys should pick some raspberries.
Yeah.
It's like just literally around the corner. And then there's 3 pawpaw trees, and then there's one little companion sunflower that's growing with one of the pawpaws, but it's a very tiny sunflower. And the other half is completely overrun with spearmint. And I was trying to talk to the people, but I haven't followed up about the food pantry is right there. So really, if we did start getting more edible things, it would be like, if you just put a note in the food pantry or something.
Yeah.
I did put a note in for the spearmint, but I don't think anyone was like, oh yeah, I want spearmint tea, just to cut it.
I would add that Millions of Butterflies, the group who runs the fridge, they
Yeah.
respond pretty well to Instagram messages, like as a direct contact.
I know, I
And-
don't have an Instagram.
Yeah.
That's what I was told to do for ETF. I missed the ETF meeting. I haven't been in touch with this. So, I mean, I need to get a stupid Instagram.
I'll send
We can set you up with one right now if you want. Or after
I'll
this.
send them your email.
Yeah. One, in the Hasbrook Park, do you remember Amanda Sissenstein? She used to like maintain all of these pocket gardens. They're not they're like bucket gardens, they're like big buckets. And she would, plant some seedlings. I know where the seedlings came from because they came from my CSA I belong to. And, eggplant, basil, sage, and people could just come by and like, oh, I'll take a few sage leaves or, oh, that eggplant is ripe. And that's the idea is that, you're growing, you're not just doing this grass monoculture and, boxwood bush. You've got like, more useful. So that one's it needs some TLC. If the buckets are still there and there's like a mesh that they put around to keep the deer from eating it, very simple design. And but yeah, I was hoping that I could get somebody from Sustag or, because I know they expressed an interest in it, but I never like closed the loop and actually got someone to come and do something, you know what I mean? Like, and then I missed the meeting. They're supposed to show up for environmental task force, and that was Monday, and I missed it. So I don't know what to do.
Are they getting watered at all? I mean, what's the groundskeeper? Okay, so it's
Oh,
like,
no, I mean, it's up to us to water. It's our project. It really is this group. I mean, but we don't have, it's just me left that,
I don't even know about it. That's,
but yeah,
That's great.
so you can come by anytime and water it and prune it and add something or whatever. The strawberries are gonna be really good next year. They got to spread. The raspberries are great right now. There's some other kinds of berries and like, it's a good thing. It just needs someone to sort of tend to it. And DPW gave us a hose and I used it and it works great. So it's been raining a lot, but on a dry day, you can just turn the
Yeah.
hose on. It's right there.
Okay.
It's coming by to pay a parking ticket, just give it some water. I don't know.
All right. Any other old business? Okay. Any new business?
I would like to talk about what would be kind of like involved in starting the conversation, if it would be like shut down immediately. But I think it would be a really amazing idea if we did something about our local tick population. And I feel like it's ticks. Yeah, they're really aggressive. And I feel like the River to Ridge Trail specifically is like, you can't really even walk your dogs. Like, I mean, it's just, they're,
Oh, wow.
it's really abundant. And I was thinking that a way to like naturally approach that in this area would be to introduce guinea hens, which they don't need it. They're very like primitive in the sense that they roost in trees. They don't need any food, anything. Yeah, like 20 guinea hens in it. They're part of the environmental process. But they, of course, I mean, they need to eat too. But it would do something within the next, I feel like there's been a lot of research in like that kind of area where there's like a lot of low brush. But my question would be like, who would we have to like go through
How
as
many
far
would
as?
you need to survive? Like, if
You'd
you
probably
were to
introduce your first
introduce
year like 20 and see how it goes, because they also,
20, they need to be in an enclosure or?
no, that's the best part about them is that
Say,
they're,
buy 20 chickens or
but
guinea hens,
they're,
right?
yeah, different.
Guinea hens and put them
They're also not that vulnerable to
Where?
predators.
in the Rialto Ridge.
River to
So
Ridge area.
Do you know what?
This is just a suggestion, but
No,
I think
it's
it would be
interesting
interesting.
suggestion. Do you know, like, I don't know what the deal is with that land.
That's what I'm, yeah.
Okay, because you've got like a strip of it that's part of the Empire Trail,
Mhm.
and then you've got parts that's farmed.
Right.
And I'm not sure who's farming it, whether they're contracting it out, exactly what they're putting on it, what they're doing. But they do bring a machine through there and it,
Absolutely.
chomps everything in its way.
The nice part about guinea hens and kind of where they separate from like conventional domestic chickens and things like that is that they roost in trees. So they're not really land animals
So they
specifically.
fly away from it.
And yeah, and so they don't really have that like natural predator aspect, which can be good or bad. And the idea that they are pretty self-contained and they can feed themselves, they drink. Yes, they would. And that's good in the sense that basically you'd be looking at it like, if you go to like the Stone Ridge area or whatever, it's like the wild turkey aspect, not necessarily in the same as like vein. Guinea hens are the big, I think, like what I can say right off the top of my head would be like neighbor outcry would be like they can be loud. you know, there is that element to them, but they are what they are.
Right there.
That's what, but I could see that, you know, because they're also not that intelligent. So there's like that piece where like,
They probably just fly across the river to the Gardens for Nutrition and eat everybody's crops. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
I mean,
know.
it would be like introducing something that wouldn't be there, but they are amazing at killing ticks, and ticks are something that we should be kind of, I mean, at this point, they're running, you
Yeah.
know.
As opposed to spraying or.
Right, and like just something that kind of would work within its own.
As
Not
opposed to.
planning to.
As
Did you got
opposed-
those things in the mail? They're so horrible. They say, oh, do you have ticks and mosquitoes? We'll kill them all for you. We'll
Yeah.
spray your whole lawn. Oh my God.
But I do think that, I mean, in, as far as from what I hear, and as somebody who exercises and, you know, are around people, I mean, the level of ticks are really aggressive on River to Ridge. I mean, you kind of can't even walk without having like 50 on your legs.
Not too bad, and they
Yeah.
don't approve of the Lyme vaccine for humans. My dogs are both vaccinated, they're both taking chemicals that cause their skin to poisonous to ticks. And they
Yeah.
don't make those for humans.
I mean, I don't know if I'd be into a vaccine that would make my skin poisonous to
Well, the vaccine
insects.
doesn't do that, the
But-
vaccine is a little disease. The poison skin thing just like stops them from drinking very much, and then they just like desiccate and die.
Yeah,
Your original question, I'm not opposed to it. I think it's.
yeah, I think it'd be a really nice way to kind of
Into
work.
Probably illegal to like let wildlife.
Well,
free.
you have to get, I think that's
Do
more
they-
so my
does the
question would
DEC
be,
give permits to that would be who would permit
I
it.
mean,
If they do, we could find out.
I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, they're like natural animals, so like,
They would, I would say that would be who I would ask, would be the
Mhm.
DEC, because they would be, they. do
and like
permits
maybe
for
the
stuff.
village and, or who owns, kind of understanding where that land, you know, kind of where it lands, because I do feel like it's a hybrid of things. I mean, part of it is Mohonk, part of it is,
If
you know,
built
you go
a
farther
house, Like, I know you say they rooted trees, but if you built them like tree houses or something, then they maybe have an incentive to stay, because I'm thinking they would just go somewhere else if they decided to.
I mean, it's a large area, and I think that truthfully, like, there, if you go to like certain places where guinea hens are around, you know, they're around, yeah, but they don't really like go, they stick to where the food is, they stick to where they have fresh water. I think the Walker would be a very suitable habitat for them. I mean, guinea hens are a cool thing to kind of research just because they're not as vulnerable as.
That's very interesting. I have no idea how you would do that.
I encourage you
But
to
I like the
do more
idea.
research into it, talk about it.
Tall.
Well, I feel like we want them to be, you know, they're fine. That's, I mean, yeah, research guinea hens, they're really
All
cool.
right.
They're cool animals, they're really durable. They,
Pros and cons considered.
That sounds like a great idea. But I don't know, like I don't know. You know, you might talk to Bill Murray. He sent an email and I didn't get to look at either about affordable housing. And I need to read that one as well.
Huh?
Sorry about that, but he's the one that I think that advocated for chickens to be allowed in the village. People do keep chickens, but they didn't used to be able to. I think he was the one who did that.
I'm glad that they're allowed to.
Any other new business? Any other items of interest to the EPB?
You too.
All right, our next meeting is, well, okay, let's actually address that as a topic. The next meeting scheduled for Tuesday, October 10th, I will be out of state. Do you guys want to see if the meeting can take place with Greg? You know, you can establish quorum without me or look to reschedule or.
I mean, by email or something. And if you're not gonna be there,
Pick it up back in November.
is Greg, he's not that regular attendee. And also sometimes at the last minute, he has to do something.
Right. All right, we'll see how the next couple of weeks go, and then we can, but we'll need to approach the October meeting, if it stays on the 10th, different. And you would be the secretary, so you get to sit here to administer the meeting. If we do that.
I do think that we should, because we are gonna be needing to make a comment on New Paltz Apartments, because that is the New Paltz Apartments and the pit are the two most environmentally potentially impactful in terms of the effect on the water and the wetlands and everything else.
Yeah.
So those are the two that we would definitely be, we are an interested party. We will be an interested party for the pit, and we are an interested party for the New Paltz Apartments.
Yeah.
So I know when or if there's numerous environmental issues connected to that, we're gonna see how they answer them in this next meeting that comes up, but that's definitely something we should be commenting on for sure.
Cool. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. The Village Environmental Policy Board for the village, September 12th, 2023, comes to a close. Thank you.